Hello, everyone. I hope you are all well. It is time for another episode of It's Time We Talk. My name is Christian Maldonado of Real Rap Entertainment. Like most people, I have favorite teams in the sports that I follow, and I've tried my hardest to present a purely objective viewpoint with some subjectivity mixed in there because it is my opinion at the end of the day. I do always try to consider all angles of a situation and try to present as little bias as I possibly can. And in this episode, as you can see the title, it might be more difficult for me to do so because Arsenal Football Club are my favorite soccer, but I'm going to be calling them a football team. And on Sunday, they lost the biggest game of the Premier League season so far to Manchester City, making the gap in the Premier League title race 3 points, with Manchester City having a game in hand over Arsenal, with the potential to go level on points and potentially succeed them if they get the right amount of goal difference. I can't remember how many points that would be. If they do beat Burnley, I believe it is on Wednesday. Now, where do we even begin? I mean, Arsenal have finished second in the Premier League in the 3 years leading up to this season, and have not won a competitive trophy since the 2020 FA Cup during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic in front of absolutely zero fans. After losing the Carabao Cup final earlier this year to Manchester City, being knocked out of the FA Cup to Southampton, having tough challenges to face in the form of Atletico Madrid in the Champions League semi-final, and either PSG or Bayern Munich, should they make it to the final, plus the added realization that they could finish second for the fourth straight year. There's a lot of discussion to be had. Many questions are being asked about the team, the players, the manager, and if there is a physical or mental block that is causing the stretch of unfortunate events for Arsenal. Is it time for Arsenal to move on from Arteta? Is the culture at the club wrong? Are these players good enough? I'll do my best to try to answer these questions in my own opinion in this episode, and breaking down why I think this is happening. I'll also answer the question of who I think will win the league, and how I see the end of the season shaping up. Get comfortable, because I have a lot to say, and I hope that you guys are interested in what I have to say. And I hope you enjoy, because we start now. Personally, I got into football when I was a teenager, around 15 or 16 years old, due to the video game series FIFA. I'd followed World Cups and other big tournaments, and I love the idea of FIFA's Ultimate Team because I always loved card collecting since I was a child, whether it be baseball, football, basketball. I loved collecting, and I loved doing that kind of thing. And the game introduced me to a new sport and a new passion, and over time, I began to fall in love. I adopted Arsenal as my team in 2016, long after the Invincibles and Arsene Wenger's best days with the club. What I didn't know was that Arsenal were in the midst of a gradual decline, one that would see the team finish as low as 8th in 2020 and 2021. Now, Mikel Arteta came in at 2019, just before our lowest point. And it didn't take long after those 2 8th place finishes for the Arteta out movement to get going. While there were times when I wanted to join the train, I never truly did. I was ignorant when it came to football, but knowledgeable in what a project is, and the patience that's required in order to let that project build. I had done my research when it came to Arsenal, especially the years before I became a fan, whether it was the impact of guys like Ian Wright, Thierry Henry, Patrick Vieira, thinking about that Invincible team. I also knew about the impact of Mikel Arteta and the impact he had as a pivotal member of that early to mid-2010s midfield. It was nice to have a former player take the reins at the club and be allowed to build his own project with the backing of the board. It was especially nice because it was a true indication that the Arsenal board was ready to rebuild, not just find a stopgap Arteta was going to be here for a while. And I was excited about that. Arteta brought us back into the top 2 in 2023, and thus back into the Champions League. We were not expected to finish that high that year, but the league finish set the standard. And it made us fans ask questions like, is Arteta the one? Are we officially back? Is he building a dynasty? This was Pep Guardiola's right-hand man after all, so the sky felt like the limit. Now, the standards are so high, and the expectations are so massive, and the level of impatience from the fan base is at an all-time high. Because of those back-to-back-to-back second-place finishes, and our history is the team that always finishes 4th, the team that's out of the Big Six since that invincible run in 2004, out of the Big Six teams, you can argue that Arsenal have been the 5th most successful team since 2004. And, we've been crowned bottle jobs, mocked for finishing 2nd 3 years in a row. And 2025-2026 needed to be the season that it all came together and it all came to a head. Instead, what we have gotten this year was, in honesty, an incredible start. With a commanding lead at the top of the table in January, top of the league table in the Champions League, our first trip to Wembley with a packed crowd for a League Cup final in almost 6 years. People were even talking about the quadruple, winning the League, Champions League, League Cup, and the FA Cup all in the same year. All this with Spurs, our North London rivals, slowly falling down the table into a relegation dogfight. Fast forward to today, and that seems like a distant memory. This season, Arsenal have been successful, currently at the top of the Premier League with, the great start that I mentioned. But they've been playing atrocious football. Sitting back, all the players behind the ball, sideways and backwards passes. Once you go 1-0 up, absolutely parking the bus, not even trying to be competitive, trying to hold on to leads. And while for most of the season it did work, and it was to the point where Arteta really couldn't demand outstanding quality of football from the team, he needed to win. And he needed to do whatever it took to win. And I respect that. I respect the fact that people are saying you might not be the right guy for the job. You finished 2nd 3 years in a row. You haven't won a major trophy in almost 6 years. You've got to do something different. And he did. He played disgusting football, and it worked. It worked. It got us into a League Cup final. We got into that League Cup final. We continued to play how we were playing. We parked the bus against City. We were barely competitive, and we lost 2-0. And even when City scored their first goal, it felt like we had already dropped our heads and we had already lost, which is embarrassing and unacceptable. And I feel passionate about this because while I never was in the camp of, we could win the quadruple, oh my goodness, we could actually do it, it really showed me that I was really under the impression that this was our year. This was the year Arteta's project finally was going to culminate in a Premier League title win. Fast forward from the League Cup final to Sunday, it showed me something that I was absolutely terrified of. And that's that this team still is not ready to win the league. There's something about this group of players that cannot handle Premier League football in April and May. And this is not the same exact team that finished second in 2023, nor is it the same exact team that finished second in 2024, nor is it the same team that finished second in 2025. There have been some changes. There are a lot of similarities between last year's team and this year's team, but it's not the same. There's some new players in this team, but it still feels like the mentality isn't there. And one thing I liked about the game on Sunday is that we came out of the gate playing really good football. We didn't park the bus against Pep like we did in the League Cup final. we took the game to them. And while they scored first, we took advantage of a clumsy play from Gianluigi Donnarumma and equalized 1-1. And it felt like now you've got to take advantage. You're in foreign territory. Not really, but you're the away team. And you've got to do something. You've got to prove to yourselves, you've got to prove to your manager, you've got to prove to your fans, you've got to prove something to your board that you can win the league. And it looked like, the Ryan Cherky goal to open the scoring was a very nice solo goal. Absolutely brilliant. But the second goal, Erling Haaland being the goal scorer and the poacher that he is, being in the right place at the right time to make it 2-1. And it felt like after that, the game wasn't competitive. Arsenal lacked that bite. Arsenal lacked that real quality. Passing was poor. I believe 74% pass completion percentage is atrocious. That's not good enough when you're facing the second best, or I would say now probably the best team in the league. It's not good enough. We had chances. Kai Havertz had himself a pretty good game. I would say him or Hincapié had the best game in against Manchester City on Sunday. I haven't even mentioned that home loss to Bournemouth the week before. It just has felt like since that League Cup final, things have really fallen apart. There was the League Cup final in which we didn't show up. The FA Cup quarterfinal against Southampton, where we lost to a championship team in the FA Cup playing our B team. Then a win against Sporting, the win on aggregate, 1-0. While it was not exciting and it was quite concerning for a win, we were still off to the Champions League semifinals, and that's all we can really do. But losing to Bournemouth at home, playing ugly football, scoring our only goal in a pen, and Bournemouth scoring 2 pretty good goals to beat us. They deserved to beat us. It felt like we had more big chances. We had a higher XG, whatever, but Bournemouth deserved to beat us. It was that should have been the reality bite. And against Man City, you've got to realize you've got to take the game to them. You've got to be compact, but you've still got to be on the front foot. And it felt like we showed up, had a higher XG, but they had the ball. 60% possession they had. 15 shots. They played very well. Gabriel probably should have gotten sent off for his headbutt on Erling Haaland. The fact we had 11 men on the pitch at the end of the game was shocking. And a lot of Arsenal fans are going to give excuses. A lot of Arsenal fans are going to say what they have to say. But I like to consider myself a realist. All right? We didn't play well enough to win. We didn't even play well enough to draw against Man City. We didn't play good enough to draw against... We maybe played good enough to draw against Bournemouth. But that's Bournemouth at home. No disrespect to them, but that's a game that you circle, we should win that game. We should win that game against Bournemouth at home. Now, the rest of the season. As I said before, Arsenal are currently sitting in first, having played a game more than Manchester City, 3 points above them. If Manchester City win, they go joint top, and if they win more than 1-0, they go solo top. Well, joint top, but they're technically top due to goal difference. Having to depend on a team like Burnley this late in the season, we should not be having to do that. We have 5 matches to play, and that's it. And of course, we also still have the Champions League semi-final against Atletico Madrid, a potential Champions League final if we get that far, and 5 Premier League games, and that's the season done. And look, I'll go through Arsenal and Manchester City's last 5 Premier League games real quick. Looking at Arsenal's last 5 Premier League games, Newcastle at home. Now, I'm going to predict I'm going to try to be as unbiased as possible, what I think will happen. Newcastle at home, that should be a win, 3 points. Fulham at home, again, should be a win, 3 points. West Ham away, it'll honestly depend. If West Ham are still in a relegation dogfight with Spurs and Forest or whoever, that's going to be a tough game. I feel like Newcastle and Fulham are both in situations where they are comfortably still in the Premier League. They have no risk of going down. But I don't think that they're going to make it into European competition. So those games, maybe you can take advantage. But that game against Fulham on Saturday, May 2nd, comes 3 days after a first leg tie in Madrid against Atletico Madrid. So who knows? Honestly, could be a draw, but I would expect us to win that game. Again, I need to see a mentality switch. Because, look, I can take it as an Arsenal fan. People say your team bottles it, whatever. At the end of the day, I'm an Arsenal fan, but life goes on. It's obviously tough, and I'll talk about what I think should and could happen if they don't get the job done. But let me save that. Against West Ham, I honestly see that as a draw. So that's 7 points in our next 3 games. Burnley at home should be a win. They'll be dead and buried by then. Crystal Palace away, probably a draw. I don't see us losing, any games. But that may not be enough. So calculating all of that is 11 points. That puts us at 81 points to end the season. Looking at City's fixtures, Burnley away is a win. Everton away is going to be a pretty good game on Monday, May 4th. That'll be a very interesting one because Everton are in pretty good form right now. I think they are very much in a race for European competition. Same with Brentford, who they have at home the next week. I see Man City drawing with Everton at the Hill Dickinson Stadium. I see them beating Brentford. Bournemouth away for Man City will be interesting. I think they win that game. I think Man City, Crystal Palace. Can't see Man City losing that game. I think that's a win. And I see Man City getting the job done on the final day. The difference is the mentality. A lot of these Man City players have won the league before. They know what it takes. They're serial winners. Pep Guardiola is a serial winner. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Manchester City won the league. I'm rooting for Arsenal to win the league. But I think Man City will probably win the league. And it'll be tough. That's tough for me to say. But Arsenal haven't shown me anything lately that proves to me that they have this. They no longer have the big lead at the top of the table that they used to. And so, if we do finish second, we'll go over what I think could happen. If we finish second and lose in the semifinals or the final of the Champions League, if the season finishes and we have not won a single trophy, Arteta's got to go. That's the first time I've ever said that. That if we don't win a single trophy by the end of the season, Arteta has to go. And that breaks my heart because I love Mikel Arteta. When I first started following the team, he was a player that I actually really liked. I liked how he conducted play. I loved how, I respected him so much because he was so underrated. He was so underappreciated. And he still did his job. And I always appreciated him for that. But Arteta, I think if he can't win us anything for the 5th straight year, Something's got to change. And the reason why it's taken me so long to say that is because I don't know where we go from there. If we don't win anything by the end of the season and Arteta goes, I don't know who comes in. I would love to say someone like Luis Enrique at PSG. I would love to say someone like Julian Nagelsmann at Germany. I would love to say, you think about some of the premier talent that could be on the move. Unai Emery already had the job. Failed. Got sacked. Can't bring him back. You're going to have to fork up the funds to get somebody out of a job they're already in. I don't think Unai Emery, sorry. When I take a look at ones that are out of work, that are going to be potentially out of work. Pochettino has already managed Spurs, can't manage Arsenal. I think of someone like Andoni Iraola. And while I do like Bournemouth and I do like the football that they play, the job might be too big for him. I like somebody that's established. I like somebody that can come in, has aura about them, and lead us to a Premier League win, to success, to trophies. That's what I want. I hate teams like Man City because I'm jealous of them. Because I wish we had Pep Guardiola. Because I wish that we could win the league. I wish we could win the Champions League. I wish that every season came with a trophy. I wish we could get somebody like Jurgen Klopp or Hansi Flick. I don't know. I'm not ruling anybody out. That's the thing. I think he should probably go. I don't think he will go, though. I think no matter what, Arteta will keep his job next year because I don't think Arsenal are prepared for if Arteta cannot win the league this year. Because I don't know. It just shouldn't be a thing. This league we should be ready to wrap this up by now. We've got less than a month left. About a month left, excuse me. It'll be less than a month when we play Newcastle on Saturday. Something's got to give. Something's got to give. I would have hoped throughout the season. I would have hoped that after the EFL Cup final, we would have woken up. I would have hoped that after that FA Cup loss, we would have woken up. I would have hoped after only beating Sporting 1-0 on aggregate, drawing with them at home, that we would have woken up. I would have hoped that after losing to Bournemouth at home, we would have woken up. And now I'm desperate. Desperate for us to wake up after a 2-1 loss to City. But I can't promise that'll be the case because, like I said, doing the same thing over and over again, hoping, expecting a different result every time, it's just not how it works. So I don't know. Like I said, I can't confidently say Arsenal will win the league. I think it's more likely that Man City win the league. Let me know what you think, though. Am I speaking sense? Am I speaking nonsense? Did I do a good job of trying to be a reasonable Arsenal fan? Did I do a horrible job at it? Let me know. If you have any thoughts, insights, leave comments, leave a like. Your appreciation and your support helps me so much, and I appreciate it very much. Until next time, thank you so much. I hope you all are well. Hope you all stay well, and I'll see you on the next episode.